my lordy lord, bro. Should we back? I don't know. I have no clue what's happening. Okay, I think we are back. Well, you know, it's just the classic Nigerian internet. When the clock strikes 12, it tends to just go on a coffee break at some point. And even now, I don't know if I'm streaming. I don't know if the stream is live, but the internet is fine, but it just did its thing. Nice. Okay, well, let's yeah, that means I don't need. Oh, yeah, this is like the old one. Oh, well, now you do. There is a get components function. And then when you get the components, which you know would be a class, you could cast it. You could attempt to cast it to a specific component, or an interface that might be on the component, right? So there used to be a Fort character component, which subclassed component and Fort character interface. And how we would do it before is we would just blindly check all of them and try to get the one that has the Fort character interface. No, it's fine. I mean, you wouldn't know if you didn't know. It's literally just that. If you did not know, you wouldn't know. So that's kind of how I do like my cursor stuff. I have a listener. It's an interface, and what I do is if I want to make, like, let's say the entity that this thing is on clickable, it has to be the entity this thing is on. I have like another implementation to allow you to click something and have that send information to another thing that you didn't click on. But for the most part, it's this component is going to be on something that is clickable. And I do that by, when I make the name here, I just add the cursor listener to it. And then whenever you click on anything, right? This is where the interaction stuff, it would go in the stuff that you clicked, it would get all the components, right? And for all of the components it gets, it would try to see if any of them has this interface on them. So it would try to cast to the cursor mode listener interface. And if it does successfully cast to it, it would call the signal function on that interface, and that signal would, you know, do a bunch of things. It would fire off, it would call these functions, and it would spawn, it would signal the subscribable. So you can subscribe to cursor event cursor clicked, or you could just put the, so if you were to overwrite these functions, which is usually what I do. So for example, here I have cursor interaction async override. When the signal is called, it would just automatically just call those functions that were overridden, and it would run the logic. So that's how I do it. And this pretty much banks on the get components function, because otherwise you know, you wouldn't be able to blindly, like, I don't care that it's tic-tac-toe slot component. I'm just checking if the component has this interface, right? So that's basically that. So how that ties into the whole way to get the player from an entity, because there isn't a direct thing, right? So you get an entity, and you want to get the player from the entity. How you're expected to do it is that you get all the players in your world, and you get their fort characters, and you get the entity of their fort character, and you see if it matches the entity that you're trying to get the player from. And if it does, then that is your player, right? So this is specifically for a that is specifically for, like, if you walk into something and you want to check if you want to get the player who walked into it. You want to get the player who walked into it. Because when you walk into something, right, the entity that the mesh entered event signals is the entity of the thing that walked into it. So you have two options. You don't know which player it is. You just don't know. So this is how you would get that. You would check against every single player in the world. You check against their entities, and that's how you would, And it seemed like, oh my god, you want to check against all the players. This is fast. Like, this check here is pretty fast, especially with the first macro as well. Like, it's fast. So it's fine to do it this way. But yeah, in the past, I couldn't, like, just, store. This is like, makes it hard for me to code when everything's big like that, because I can't see much. But red cursor entitlement, I'm basically going to make this, instead of putting the I just need to think about where I'm using this. But instead of, like, putting the player fort character, because that's what this is doing, it's checking if what this line here is specifically doing is that it's checking if the person who went in is a player, because it gives you an entity, and you wouldn't want to like, let's say if this thing is spinning and, like, it moves, or like this guy, for example, if he moves in there, it will trigger the stuff. You wouldn't want to add that random ass entity well, I don't want to add that into my players with cursor entitlement. So I do check if they are a player, and if they are, then I set the thing, right? So in order to make this get agent here, I can just store the agent entity instead. What's the quickest way to change the material in the scene graph that's applied to a mesh, or increase one of the parameters in the material instance? To change the material on a mesh, you first need to get the mesh, and then you can just set the material, because right now, like, meshes are exposed as mesh components. Right. So if I went and control here, let's see. I mean, I don't really have things with multiple materials on here, so this one maybe. Custom tabletop. That's just one material on there. Yeah, these just are one material. Okay, well, I mean, meshes, right, are exposed as mesh components, and the mesh components themselves have their material slots as variables, right? So to change the material of the mesh is simple as getting the mesh and then just doing set this stuff to the new material that you want. So getting the mesh, you could do that two ways. You could either get components and like have the specific name in there, or you can get the mesh components and then try to cast it to the mesh. And then when you do, but you need to get the thing specifically so that you know what it knows what variables are on there. Now, as for setting the material, like setting a parameter, once you can have the material that's on a mesh, once you have the material that's on the mesh, you can set the parameter the same way. You didn't just do it the quickest way, you kind of just did it the only way. It's the same for the materials as well, right? So now you see how this has board, it has a material, and the name is basically what's on the, you know, like in the mesh asset. So here, what am I looking at? Knife hit. Okay, one second, wrong thing. So here, this is where the name comes from, right? So on the stuff, on the asset. But any material can be in there. So when you get the material that's in here, if you want to set a parameter on it, you then have to cast it to the specific material that you're trying to set the parameter on. So if I wanted to set this parameter, I would get the board material and then I would cast it to m_knife, and then you would do set m_knife dot fade offset equals blah blah blah. So let's see. Set globe. Well, if meshes get component new diamond, yeah. So you can either get the mesh component and then cast it, or you could just get the stuff directly, because the stuff directly is quite literally the mesh component. And then set cast glow mi emissive strength, yeah, equals value. But of course that, you know, banks on the fact that you have set the material on that mesh component to reference the cast glow mi material directly prior. Now, ideally, if you have, there's like, I think it's currently a bug, right? Because normally, like, look at this. Let's say you have this material. No, let's say you have this mesh. And this mesh already has a material on it, right? So logically, you'd think that, okay, if I made this mesh, which already has material, I should be able to just get the material that's literally on it and then cast it to what I want and then do things. Normally, you're supposed to be able to do that, but currently, I don't know if they fixed it, but like there's a bug where you can't, and you always have to create a new instance in code. Yeah. So just as the materials on the mesh are parameters of, you know, the mesh stuff, the parameters in your material reflect as parameters under, well, the material. All right. I'm still thinking. I don't want this to be based on the default character for sure. I want it to be based on the agent. which should be entity still, I guess, but based on the agent. Yeah, that's the exact name of my parameter. If I were to go in here, wait, which fade offset? Let me see, where is it from? So it's on the m_baguette. So the parameters in your material are reflect as variables on the thing. If you have texture parameters, they would show up. If you have vector parameters, they would show up. If you have scale parameters, they would show up. What else? The only parameters that don't show up are, well, the ones other than the ones I just mentioned. So static parameters like static switches and what else? Like texture object data and stuff. But textures, scalars, and vector parameters show up under your stuff. Another thing to keep in mind is that like the parameter name has to respect verse naming syntax. So you cannot have parameters that do not have that have a space. If you do, then they won't like compile. So in valid and in fire there, you can see this one has a space. So this parameter did not like reflect, which is kind of good because now you can specify things like if you have parameters, right? That you know that they are parameters for the material, but you don't actually want them to use them in verse. You can just add a space so that they do not compile, right? Why would you want them not to compile? Well, because if they do reflect and, they bloat this up, then that adds like, compilation time every time you hit compile. So you kind of want to keep this not having as many things as possible. So if you're making a material that has a bunch of parameters that you are only using like in editor, then ideally make the names not compile, not reflect. Right. So for example, like this stuff, I specifically intentionally added the spaces so that this wouldn't like show up in the stuff here as well. Yeah. Well, it's the beauty of Fous. Yeah. Okay. Where was I? Right. Cursor mode. This should be entity, but I want to put the player entity. I'm thinking in terms of like optimization here. I don't want to just get it anyhow. So, agent. Or do I have player? If player, yeah, that's wrong. If player is this, then I'm just going to add the player instead. Player instead of the cursor, instead of like the entity that came in from the thing. Yeah, so that's why I have, so it's going to add the player, an entity to get agent, and this is, yes, okay, the first agent. It gets all participants, and the reason why I have this get participants specifically is so that if you have NPCs, they would work, right? So in a play space, you have anything that like performs actions as an agent. A player is a human controlled agent. Oh wow, yeah. A player is is an agent that is being controlled by a human, right? But NPCs are agents too, but they won't, if you try to cast them to a player, they won't succeed because they're not players. So in the for place-based stuff, you have the get place players, which gets all the human players. This kind of like is this one, but it does a filtering on the agent type. But for my general, like if this was an NPC and the NPC was, you know, going in, I would want to be able to get the NPC's entity as well, entity's agent. Because the NPCs also have Fort characters, obviously. Not all the NPCs, but I mean, technically all the NPCs, yeah. All the Fortnite ones. Because that's the whole Fort character thing. But I do have a get player, which should essentially get agent and filter. Yeah, so get agent would do get participants, and then get player would specifically use the in place based filtering, because I'm sure they're doing it, you know, a lot more optimized. I probably hope. I'm not sure, but I would hope they are, that it's more optimized to filter, to use the one that is filtered than to get all participants and then do the filtering yourself. So that is my new stuff I added for thingies. Now, why is it transact? It is transact because of get play space for entity. The fact that this one thing here is transact means that, you know, it means that everything here should be transacts. So then what I want to do is store the player specifically. So on the thingy here, instead of doing player here I was doing, because again, we didn't have the way to filter, so I would do manually here. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do entity.getPlayer directly. So if I can get this player, that just walked into, if the thing that entered into my cursor zone is a player, this would succeed, and then it would add the player to my stuff. Now my stuff here, it takes in an array of entities, but if I add a player to this array, you can add a player because player subclass is subclass from agent and that is subclass from entity. If I add the player to this array, I'm able to check later on, like even though it says entity, I'm able to like cast that entity directly to the player later on. So the info is not lost. So now that I know, and then you might be like, okay, well, why don't you just make it take in, you know, a player type instead of an entity type? Well, we're about to find out the reason. Like what is going on? Okay, let's do. Okay. Oh my days. Sheesh. View. Oh, okay. Let's take a look at that. Oh my god, sorry for the flashbang, what the heck? Is this text? Okay, it's text. Good, good, good. So we're looking for Control K plus K. Okay, so fold, unfold, so it's KJ. All right. I pretty much never use that, so Control KJ. Okay, dokie. Is that it? Do I need to build? Like, this stuff is pissing me off. Like, my LSP is cooked. So there are errors. There is one error somewhere, but it just does not want to show me where. Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. So revoke stuff. Okay, so this is the problem here. This expects a type of, I think it's because this stuff here is having like, okay, so we have array here, and I'm doing this array minus this thing, right? The problem here is this stuff, by the way, is a custom. It's a custom operator extension of mine. Extension of operator. It's a custom operator of mine here for the array type, which just, you know, instead of doing array.remove and all of that, which is again slow and blah blah blah, and you know, array.remove or all of that is not necessarily, like, it's kind of too much words. It would be nice if you could just do array minus the object. So I wrote a wrong thing. So I wrote a it stops right here, operator, and then where it takes an array and a subtrahend, and then it will subtract. Well, it would give you the array, but without the subtrahend. Remove a thing. So that's what that is, by the way. The thing is, it needs this type here. Needs to match like that type. So essentially here, this aspects of type player, but then we're passing in entity there. So we need to get the player here as well. So revoke cursor entitlement, simply just make this from the player. So first things first is here I was doing like internally because I had to do the thing up there to take an entity. Oh my holy moly. Okay, so no, wait, I recall now. I'm doing it this because this, I need to call this function. I don't want to wrap this in a parent function for entity entered event. This gives entity, right? So this function needs to receive an entity, and this one too needs to receive an entity. But I want to remove the player from here, so I can just do this actually. Boop. And boop. But not in entity. Player. There we go. So revoke cursor entitlement will get the player and remove the player from this. And this player is the player. So even if the player dies, it's the same one. Now I think about it. That should replace, this was like the old method because I only had the get agent and then I would try to cast it to a player. But that should replace that. And then this should honestly come in here, and then this line can go. And same thing here as well. So that goes there. This comes here. And then this line can go. Okay, so we do some checks when granting. And then we grant. So we add the player, we add the cursor, and then we do the spawn stuff. This stuff here, actually, now I think about it, holy moly. Oh my goodness, yeah. Okay. Oh my god, everything was for a reason. I should not have deleted that. I just realized. But basically, yeah. Okay. So Damn, I have to put it back. No. The reason why I was using the entity and not the player directly was because let's say that you are in a zone with the stuff and you respawn somewhere else. You're not supposed to have it. If you respawn back in there, you will get it again because you would. Okay, so that's why I was doing the entity and not the player directly. This is why you comment, but I just didn't comment anything. So, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to like reset everything. Oh my days. Right. Yeah, I'm just reset everything. I think this was a good enough place to editable fields, and then yeah, okay. So that's why I did. I was putting the entity instead of the player itself. Yeah, that was the reason for it. Okay, so the original setup would put the entity and take away the entity. But here now I can actually just make this a little bit better by doing get player. There and okay, so I can make this better here like that. And then I could just move this still down here, so that is valid still. But then chuck that away, and here as well. Move this down there. Okay, so it's for a reason. Play with crystal entitlements, add, and then remove. So it, yeah, okay. Sheesh, I should have trusted myself there. All right, so then what is the issue here? I'm trying to write a... I'm trying to write this that checks if the player has the entitlement, if the player has a cursor entitlement, which just goes through all the players, all the entities in here, and it checks if any of them matches the Fort character entity. So then force usage. I didn't want to use this. If I, now this is the issue here. This get entity uses this, which has to transact. So it has to be transact. But the reason why I was trying to make it so that instead of storing the player's Fort character entity, I was just storing the player himself, is because if I was putting the player entity, then I wouldn't need this get entity function, this get entity method here. I would be able to compare the agent directly to the entity, and then compute CRD. It would be this, a little bit more performance because it just takes less time to complete. But this will always fail because this agent is not the same one that gets added in there. And the reason it doesn't get added in there is because if the player dies, I need to, yeah, okay. I remember now. All right. A little sacrifice, no biggie. Ideally win versus faster, this shouldn't even matter. Okay, has cursor entitlement. Yeah, this will check if a player has cursor entitlement. And now I'm going to use that in the force usage. Force usage here, it's now a matter of how I want to implement this. So will it give the person the cursor if they, like force usage, they should have the cursor and then it would force them to use it. That's what I think at the very least. But some people might expect if you say force usage, then it should give them the cursor if they don't have it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. If they don't have it, you should definitely give it to them because if you force usage and it gives someone, yeah, it's supposed to be failable. Like it's supposed to fail if they don't have it. Yeah. That way you can confidently call it without checking if the player has it or not. Like, making sure the player has it, whatever. And if they don't have it, they won't put them in there. I feel like that's a better angle than making them have it. Because then if you do this and it gives it to them and you never call remove cursor, then they will just have it forever. And now I'm wondering if force usage should stop them from being able to remove it. I'm just thinking about the future here. Well, for now, we will do player dot has cursor entitlement. I need to move this back down actually. Just make this on minors. And this can honestly go up there. Okay, and then yeah, just so I don't accidentally modify those. Right. So first of all, check if they have it, and then if they do, if state is true, well, it's not going to give them, but I'm going to, well, the only thing that like forces usage is the again, force usage only applies to like the virtual pointer and the free cursor. So free cursor here, enter free cursor mode. If it's true, that's going to be the first one. Well, if thingy is free cursor. Okay, so we will do if state is this, then yeah, let's just do cursor type. What the heck did I call it? Virtual pointer free. Remember. Enter free cursor mode. Agent. Player. Why is that not giving me an error? I'm doing a case of cursor type. It's open. Oh, okay, so it's open, and then this is a decides context, so you don't have to, specify all of them. So when it comes to enums, I don't know. Well, you can read it in the book. So we have free there, and then we have a virtual pointer. How the heck did you do that, man? So let's gotta go first. Virtual pointer, enter free cursor mode. This is not the toggle. This just will, yeah. So toggle will exit. And then that's the enter, so that's fine. But for the virtual cursor though, okay, so the touch mapping context is what handles the entering. So if it is true, it will add it, and then it would listen for the interaction. So then, yeah. Okay, so set touch mapping to true, right? Yeah, this will do that. Okay, nice. I like having, you know, so here virtual pointer, we would do this, true. And then else, we would do the same thing here actually. So case cursor type, exit free cursor. And then this one will be false. So you do force usage and it will, you know, force them to go into it. The only thing I'm thinking about now is if I should make it so that when force usage is set, if it should block them from, like, you know, going, because like right now, let's say I have, well, I guess the solution to that would be to not put a thing. So for each of my, like the ones that you enter with which you would need to force usage, right? There is a button to go into it, which is specified here. I have like a role player just so I can, like, you know, a role player input struct. You have an input action and the mapping context. So for enter free cursor and enter virtual input, the button to go into those modes are by default, like you don't have any button there. So if you created a cursor component, it wouldn't have the button. And what that means is even if you set the cursor type to be any of those two, the players will actually not be able to go into them. So I guess that's going to be the solution. If you don't want the players to, if you force usage and you don't want them to like remove it or use it, simply don't put the button there for it to be used. I could have like a player map of, you know, to ignore button presses when force usage is being called, but I don't think that's necessary. All right, and that is it. Now I am able to not only give it remotely, but I'm able to put players into a usage state of it. Yeah. And of course it will, you know, put them at the point where they're looking. So if I were to put on an item, then when they equip the item, wherever they're looking, it would put them into the state automatically without them having to press a button to use that. Oh, okay. It's all coming together. It is all coming together. I keep thinking sometimes about like right now with the way I have it, then what I could do is I could have like zones where you go in and you have like the player one, the free one, the locked one, which is reticle based in like a social map, for example. And then you could have like a vending machine or whatever where you give people the cursor so they can equip that, because, you know, I guess players are more used to equipping the thing from the inventory. So they can equip that whenever they want and unequip it. And it, you know, it would serve as an easier form of, because right now, if I were to put like a bind here, for example, here I have the reload button to be how you enter the thing. If I did that, then players lose out on the reload button. But if I made this into an item, then players can put the item wherever they want, and then they can use their own binds they're comfortable with, whichever one they prefer, to, invoke the cursor, for example. So this whole setup here, adding the force usage and all that, is just to allow me to, it's just to further. I already had these ones before, so you can. I even have like a thing here. If you set it to grant via API only, then it would, some of the extra options I have in, like you can see here, advanced, some of the extra options I have in the advanced section, which I'm pretty sure is not going to come through. These help with performance and stuff, right? So this one doesn't help with performance because every time I have like always clean up and removal. So every time you exit and re-enter, it completely like cleans the slate, like, and it refreshes. So enabling this, not, it's off by default, but then debug sweep hits, mutual exclusive. What mutual exclusive is, because again, you can create as many, like, you don't have to use the one in the island for everything. You can like have a cursor one, and then you can like make another one, right? Quite literally like that, and then change the settings on this one. So maybe you want, if a player is using this one, if you want them to have like a shorter, like a shorter interaction radius, or for example, I can make this one only trigger the stuff on this board, right? In which case I would, manually set it to, okay, only trigger this thing and stuff. So you can have many of them with different configurations. So what the mutual exclusive does it as well, what the name says, it makes it so if you go into one of them, it removes any, because you can also stack the cursors, right? But then this one just makes it so that it never, like, whichever one, whenever the one that it's turned on gets applied to the player, it removes every other one that the player might have. Okay, yeah, cursor stuff. And now, I don't know, should we start on the cursor item? I've already got like my stuff kind of ready for it. And this is one of the places where I was gonna mention when you asked if I was gonna commission someone to do the stuff. This is one of the places where, it's a resource. Okay, you asked about textures, so I guess I should show this too. Right? So, Kenny, assets. You must definitely have seen his assets in use somewhere. This one guy just, what was this? Well, this one guy here, I don't know if it's a one person anymore, but he has this is website, right? So kenny.nl. And this is it. Thousands of completely free game assets, free to use. CC0 stuff. Right? That's it. You can donate. And I'm sure people donate because they use this stuff like a lot. Like a lot. Like, sheesh. Let me see. Search cursor. No. Let's see. Tycoon, maybe? Money. Sheesh. There's some packs I'm trying to look for here that are like, you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, is that the flipping thing? Damn, did I like pass it or did I just not even? Oh, UI. I think I was in the wrong place altogether. Is that not a Kenny pack? Like the thing I'm thinking about, I'm actually trying to find it. Let's see. Or is it not Kenny? Am I tripping? Good lordy lord. Anyway. Holy moly, it's not. Sheesh. Is it this one then? Oh, so it's not Kenny. Well, it's definitely not this one. Probably, I don't think so. Let me. Oh, I think it's this one. I'm not even sure. But yeah, I don't know. My heart is it's a little bit down now. I thought it was Kenny. No. Um. 8:59. So, what was I gonna say? Right, things to do. I've already finished. I think I'm pretty happy with. Yeah, I think I can say for sure I've finished the integration of the virtual pointer into my code base, into my thing here. Only thing left, honestly, is this. Like, what was I doing with this? Okay, yeah. So the virtual pointer is a thing there with the stuff, and then there is this interface, which I should be able. I should finish this one. But report player click. Yeah, I think it was there. Oh. Recast. Oh yeah. Okay, so this stuff is going to use the. Did I bring it in? Yeah. Yeah, I did. Did I? No, it's in the same folder. Okay. So then, sheesh, I feel like, yeah, this is got to be the one. Maybe not that. So raycast here calls in on this. There is one there, and then there is another one there. So, because I'm thinking this function is in this cursor mode stuff. So like, Source. Okay. So I have like a source. When you report player click, you need to give it a source, a cursor mode component, and it's going to use that cursor mode component for the raycast. Huh. I want to make like I'm still okay. I recall now. I remember. I'm still thinking of how to, because what I'm trying to do here with this virtual pointer interface is basically make a thing that is already set up and ready to go. So in case if I want to like read clicks or read continuous input, I can just like do get clicks or get continuous input. And I'm thinking of how best to work this. I'm doing the raycast here because I'm just like, just using. Yeah, this virtual pointer stuff, like, I don't know, it's not that easy to generalize. I'm thinking for the most part, I might just end up going down the route of doing, like, making a fresh implementation depending on whatever I'm trying to make, right? With the cursor mode stuff, like clicking, it's easy to generalize that. You could just, like, you click, it's one click. So I can just generalize this and say, in this object, when you clicked, do that. And that's why I did not implement dragging, like clicking and dragging in the cursor mode itself. It just provides it's just the action of clicking on stuff. But the virtual pointer, though, it doesn't necessarily click and drag. It just okay, maybe I'll do like the report player click. No. I don't know. I don't even have like a. Oh yeah, yeah, I remember. If you want to make like a weapon inspector, yeah, the weapon inspector. Okay, so the weapon inspector is where, this would need to come in handy. Otherwise, you need to like write the logic from scratch in there. Maybe that might be the way. Maybe that might be the way. It's not that crazy to get the logic right. It's just get the player input, get this one, and then obviously add the input mapping for it, and then listen for click position. But now I think about it. Yeah, you definitely would need to write the logic print as required. Because for example, this one, what it does here, it just uses the virtual pointer. And well, again, this is not even doing anything on its own. That specifically needs a cursor mode component to do stuff. So you click and you kind of click across, and that's what it's doing. And I only wrote this because I hadn't yet implemented it directly in the cursor mode component. So honestly, this kind of has to go now, right? Yeah, so that has to go. Yeah, that has to go. And now, maybe let's just keep it for now, just in case I need to check raycast the projection. Raycast, why has that been called so many times? What the heck? That's one. That's two, which ideally should be there, and then three, and that's it. Okay, so the other ones aren't the. Okay. Because logically, this should only be called 3 times. Once for the virtual pointer, and the other one, blah blah blah. I'm trying to think of how to make this general, right? So I can give this to a person, and they would be able to No, actually, I don't think you can really. Because like here, for example, this is doing, it's doing a click and it's doing stuff with the first thing that it hits on the click. But if you were doing something like a weapon inspector, you don't actually care about the hits. To do a weapon inspector, you don't care about the hits. You don't care about the hits. You don't care about what it's hitting. All you care about is where it moved from the last place. So when you're dragging across, the change in position on the screen is what you care about, not necessarily what it's hitting. So I guess what this should be a okay. So what this should be like a swipe interface, which gives you data on swiping. Because if it's clicking, we've got this one. So swiping. I think that should be the target here, to make this somehow let you do stuff with swipe, with the motion of swiping. So clicking and dragging across, basically. With the virtual pointer specifically. Yeah, so then you could use it to implement stuff like Fruit Ninja, right? Or, well, again, an inspector, weapon inspector, item inspector, whatever inspector. Maybe you have like a game where you can like move things around, right? Like you can move things around. Then it would allow you to also attach objects to the, not really attach objects, but it would just give you the pure swipe data. Because then if you say attach objects, like in 3D space, when you move things around, like if I go up, why, like the logic that says, hey, go up instead of go down, well, like technically this is moving from a lower point on the screen to a higher point. That logic is implemented specifically by, rules and whatever. So it shouldn't be like an attach object. It should just be pure swipe data. All right, well, I'm going to keep that for another time. I'll do like a little bit of research on how other engines and platforms and just 2D stuff as well handles swipe information, because this gives it as a continuous, like it should plot the points, but also in real time. Oh, yeah, okay. So that's what this is going to turn into. I've kind of okay. So definitely not that. I don't even know what this is for. And what that is for either. Yeah, that was for something. But this was doing 1, 2, 3, so it would end this stuff. Oh, okay. So this should kind of be useful. Report player click though is per player. Okay, so it's to end this function when it's removed. But then you don't want it to remove for everybody, right? Because this would signal with the player. So we should do a check that it's for the specific player. Player. Let's do like local player. Equals that. It's ambiguous. Okay, man. That's ambiguous. Okay, but yeah, I got you. Person. Just. Okay. Player. Okay. So then we will do if player has player remove pointer. Okay, so that's it. If the person, yeah. Okay, that's the way. That is the way. What the heck? Wait, no. Player don't remove the heck did this thing right in here. Player don't remove pointer. It sets the mapping context to false, which removes the input mapping. And then it signals this, which then does the same thing? No, just not necessary. Okay, so then... Okay, in which case, this should not just wait for anything, it should also be a loop too. And sleep. Not for that. -1. Same thing here, actually. And then if player is that, then it'll break. That's the, yeah, so... Okay, save the player who just pressed it. But then what calls this? Player dot remove pointer is called by, yeah, okay, so toggle pointer would do that. And when it's removed, it signals who just removed it so that it can break out of this loop and then stop the whole listening stuff. For the most part, yeah, we're gonna do click position. I need this to provide a bunch of information. Okay, I'm starting to think of how I would do it in my head. So let's do, first of all, let's like implement a swipe direction. Okay, buddy chacho. This would be, oh damn, nah. Okay, this would be like, okay, so I'm thinking it would have like specifics of the movements, and then would have like a general, like I want it to be able to like, you know, give multiple information. So if you want to just hear, okay, what's the general direction that was just swiped, you know, it's going to be a general thing. And then we're going to have like specifics as well. Okay, so I'm thinking. We'll have up, down. I'm just going to have the 8 cardinal directions. Right, so 8 directions. What the heck is this stupid ass thing? Up. Yeah, okay. Direction wise, yeah, it should be up, not top. Top, bottom, but then up. Right. I don't like this naming, man. Up, upright, right, down, left, left, up, left. So. Yep, we're gonna have that then. And then I also need to do like a little, like a thing, a tolerance thing, kind of. How much Okay. So no, let's not do tolerance. No, we'll have tolerance. So if like you do like a tiny movement, it's not gonna make, it's not gonna trigger a swipe direction. But then if you do like a big movement, that's gonna be the tolerance. And then finally, for swipe direction, instead of tracking the stuff which would have like noise, if you track each movement, I'm just gonna do the begin. Like when you click, you swipe and you let go, I'm gonna do the check of this position and that position, and then that's gonna do that there. Okay. They both have to complete. Let's try. Let's prototype that really quickly. So, swipe direction. Oh, I mean, okay. This actually just realized me of something. Or should I make it? Okay, so, oof, no reason not to have all. We're gonna have a general swipe direction, which is gonna be this, and then my interface would also somehow would also like give you the angle of the swipe. Okay, so in that case, that's gonna be that. Yeah, we're not. I don't know what you're doing, buddy, but let's just let me write something I understand. Okay, so let's see. There's gonna be suspends, and then there, sync. Two places. So swipe. Okay. So swipe direction. Okay. Where are we? We are here. Well, let's just get all of this. Player of type player, and then we'll get the player input, not the entity. And then the click event. Can I do this directly? I feel like that's like illegal. Okay, well, I mean, it's not complaining. I'm not gonna complain either. Okay, so click events. Oh my holy moly. Quick events, brother. Quick event is this. So first of all, we're going to get quick position. Oh, right, my bad, OG. All right, so begin the text event there. I need to pass this out. Right, so we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this. So what's gonna happen now is this, right? This is what I love first. Everything is an expression. So if we have two blocks here of the click event, the begin detect event, and the end detect event, right? We have these two blocks, and they're put into the sync. So it's going to wait for both of these to complete before it carries on, right? I'm about to get the swipe direction. If I were to store this in a thing, I can store this in a thing. And now this is going to be nonsense because they don't give the same stuff, right? But this, right, is a tuple now of the two things, right? Because there's two there. So what I want is the position of the click on the screen space position of the click. I want to get that from here. So trigger F just gives viewport position. Right, so the click, the ray takes in yeah, actually don't even need that. Like I need to actually look at the stuff again to specifically see what I'm getting. So click events for pointer select. I love messing around with the new stuff and figuring out what is what. All right, so for the virtual pointer, touch mapping, blah blah blah, get screen space coordinate. So when you click, Vertigy, what is the flipping? You click, blah 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 blah. Tell me what the thing that's giving me, man. Touch. Sorry, 1 second. Screen space. Oh well, would you look at that? Oh man, I don't even want to. It wouldn't. Okay, well, let's see. Oh, sheesh, bro. Disable virtual pointer example verse code. When you click. Why is that information not here? Like I know where it is, but like, why is it not on the main thing of the stuff? Like, back to the thing. I think it's here. Oh, okay. Oh my god, it just brought me back. All right, all right, all right, all right. Let's just take it easy and read slowly. Screen space coordinates. Yep. Yep. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Okay, I mean, I know it gives the vector of the position. All right, so this is where I should be looking actually. Now, cool. Here. Transforms the thing. The viewport space coordinates. So we get viewport space coordinates from the stuff. And it's in centimeters. Left is da da da, and then up is that. So it's left. I actually just needed the left and up. Forward is ignored because no depth. So this gives left and up. Sheesh. I'll click result. Click position. Is that? It's okay, man. I should be able to like click into this, but I cannot because I don't know why, man. Okay, so we go here. So begin detect event gives the player and the type. So then no way. No actual way. The end detect. Oh my god, I forgot. The end detect event does not give where they left. It doesn't give the type. Okay, are we real? Okay, so what this means then is that I will need to listen for the trigger activation event, and then I will stop when. Okay, no problem, no biggie. So the position is the second tuple, right? Position is the second tuple. That's what we need here. What if I just did? What if I just got that directly? Can I get that directly? I can. Okay, so this is the click position. It's a vector. Let's see if I can force that vector into the type. Okay, so it did force it successfully, but now it's not going to do the. This is not going to count as an away, even though it's an. All right. So here's the options you've got, right? So copy this. Here are the options you have. You either await the position like that, and then this is going to give you a tuple of player and the thing, and then you say, well, that should be click results now, wouldn't it? Click results, click position, just click result 1. So this is essentially what we have, right? The click player is the first thing here, and then the click position is the second one, and you can then do stuff with this. Yeah, and then you can then do stuff with this. I'm thinking of having like another function which make okay, before I do that, viewport coordinate. X and Y. Right? And then I'll have a make value of type vector 3 dot make report coordinate return report coordinate where X equals that, and then we're doing left and up. So left and up. What is the issue here? Oh, right. Okay. So then, okay, so yeah, so you can do this. Actually, so it starts because it starts here in the corner. I'll later, like, you know, make this into a better, because it starts here in the corner. Then left is fine, and then up is negative. Up is negative, so there should be negative value up. Okay, so you could do this, or I'm just going to get this directly here, like that. I'm going to make it into this thing as well. So like that. So when they click, this is where they started clicking. I don't know if I should convert the stuff to, like, you know, from bottom right up and then horizontally. If I did that, then I can visually imagine the click, like the direction, a lot better if I do it like that. Because then up would be, there would have to be a tolerance. Like if you go up, like yeah, the tolerance definitely needs to do a thing. Like where does it become? So then I guess we should not do like tolerance, and instead just go based off of angles, I guess. But then what happens if you... Okay, so the way I'm thinking is up really has to like go up, like with a little bit of wiggle room there. I'm already too sleep deprived for this. Let's see. Anyway, so we have the initial click position here, which is going to be the so the first result stuff, this first one is going to be the where the start position, and then the second one is going to be the end position. So to get the end position, we're gonna do on this block here, we want to do a race, right? I'm gonna do a race here. I'm just gonna do this twice. Yes, sorry. Good lord. Oh lordy lord. Oh my days. I'm gonna do this twice. Let's just silence the error there. And now, we're gonna have the end detect event, and then we're going to have the triggered event. So click events. Oh my gosh, great. Trigger activation event. So here's what I'm thinking. We're gonna race between both of them. And get rid of this and this. Actually, not the second one. I'm gonna race between that one, and we are going to loop here. So this is gonna loop indefinitely. Okay. Rip, you do have to do that. So we're going to loop indefinitely here. Now, the thing about the loop thing, right? Trigger activation event. Let's get the click position from there as well. Doesn't like that. Let's see if we can isolate it a little bit. It absolutely doesn't like that. So then we're just going to call this start position. Start position. Better. Oh, that's not why I was complaining. I mean, I was like, yeah, I was like, why the heck would you be complaining? It's because of this one. Because it's totally different scopes. Good lord, I looked so stupid just now. So quick position, the trigger activation event that has tuple and the thing. So it's going to be the same thing here, actually. We'll take that one, right? Yeah, 0, 1. We'll take the stuff and get that from there. So this is where it clicks, but I need this value to be returned at the end of, so I'm going to terminate with this. Now the issue here is the loop does not, like, it doesn't, because it loops and, you know, it could break at any point. Yeah, right? It's not something, like, it's not a first. Something's wrong, hold up. Let me see. Yeah, anyway, I do know this for a fact, like the loop does not have a value, like it doesn't return something. Loop expressions, an infinite loop, the break, blah 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 blah, blah 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 blah. Damn, I didn't even. I didn't explain it here, I guess. Sheesh. Oh, okay. Oh yeah. So the loop return a value of type true. So you can't really like use it for anything useful, really. Um, sheesh. Anyway, that is to say that in order to get the position of the click stuff, I need to track this. Track it how? We will track it. Yeah, I am gonna put this in a block after all, I guess. Blockity block. Put that there, and then we'll do var quick position of type product port coordinates equals viewport coordinate. And this needs a thing, so let's just initialize this with okay. So here we are going to then set this to that. So now we have this block here, which in which we loop and constantly update this click position. So I'm just going to return this at the very end of it. Here, this result is of type viewport coordinate and then true, right? Now I think about it, this stuff needs to be at the top level, right? But you can see now viewport coordinate. So what's happening here is that you're doing a race here. This race is something is race viewport coordinate. This is not right. This is not right. Loop. It shouldn't be the last thing here, because if this ends, oh, so this is just one block. If I had done like this, for example, then you see brain is not braining. I want to like be sure of what I'm typing here. The race stuff, it returns like the section that won, basically. Like if I were to put this in a function, it would return the section that won. Now for the loop though, well, it's not going to be anything because it's a loop. All right, so what I'm thinking here is this should be fine. Yeah, it should be fine, because if you're doing this, you can check the value of the end thing. So 1, right? It's returning that because it's under the block. if this was in the loop, then it's returning the loop. Which is true, the type it returns. So the end event that await is not being stored somewhere. Is that why it's not returning something? Wait, now let me see. Okay, so you can't store this somewhere. That doesn't feel right. That does not feel right for some reason. Oh, okay, okay. It's because in context of the race here, this event is just like it's a suspension point and not like a thing. Like for example, if you had sleep equals that, and you said something is sleep, right? You can't do that because this is a suspension point. At the very least, not in the context of the race, right? Now it's a thing. Okay. Sheesh. All right, so here this will just what the foot? Here this will just serve, so it can be up. I was kind of concerned there. This will just serve as the the two things it's racing between. So it's racing between this and it's racing between that. When this ends, that doesn't get counted, so you get the result of what's in the block, which is going to be click position because I'm putting it here after at the bottom. I'm not really comfortable with this writing. Like, this should not. I think like this is probably one of the things like new changes and stuff. That's why this is. But like this is not the previous behavior. I'm pretty sure of that. I am pretty sure of that. But this seems to work. It gives the variable coordinate, and then this has been updated in here. If I were to write this, like how I feel I would be comfortable writing it, I would put the viewport coordinate up here, and then I would just do the setting there, and then I would like return it after here. Now I'd be confident that okay, I have it there, and then in the race between this one and all of this, I can now get rid of this too as well. This is how I would have written it. Like if I didn't know I could just do it down there, this is how it would have written. So viewport coordinate is up here in this block because the result of the sync is the result of these two things. So this block here, declare this, and then loop while updating this to be whatever this gets into, and then whenever this gets triggered, it would cancel the loop. So the race ends, and then it returns that. So true. Okay, I think I'm starting to understand. It's again, this would not have worked before, but it boils down to, let me see if I can get a good example. It boils down to like a side effect of the fact that we now have like cursor. Let's see if I can get a good example first. Maybe remember the thing. Okay, so now we are able to like do this. So before, okay, let's just give a good example. Let's give an actual good example. Before, if you wanted to do a for loop, right, like this, and you wanted to get all the stuff, so let me use this one, and you wanted to get all the stuff, all the components, right, you would do for component in thingy, do components, right, and then this will give you all the components, which is essentially the same. Let's move this down here, then just add space, which is essentially the same as doing like this, right? But now if you want to do this, you can simply, like, you don't need the then block. I would call it then block, or the do block, right? You could simply just do without like that if you put it in braces like this. So this ability to do this is new, right? And I think you can also, like, by the way, it also applies to if statements. Entity dot get component. Well, it doesn't. It's hard to explain here because you could also kind of do this before. Well, not really, but yeah. But like the new feature of that, I think that's what carried over to the race, like knowing that this is not a value that it should try to return and just being smart about it. But yeah, if I set this here, it's still like the true is because it's in the loop. So in there, comparable y, probably because that is down there. So let's see. All top levels must be async and not immediate. Okay. I want to see how I had it before. So I had this, and this worked. I actually had it like that, and that worked. So now you can do this, declare this under the block, not accessible up here, right? And even though you're racing between this and this, like you would now just get that directly. So there we go. This setup should give us the start position and the end position. Now let's give it good names. So start position, and then end position. Right. And that is in our results. Okay, so of course the next thing to do would then to do the would be to do the logic that compares the start position and the end position and derives a direction from that. And I am thinking about how I would do that, but that is based off of what this would be. So right now this just gives the correct stuff, but the origin is here, and then going out is that way, and then going up is going down, like in 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1. I'm actually just wondering if I want to rebase the origin to be down here. I would do that in this function, so that 0 to 1 goes up like that, and then 0 to 1 goes that way. And it would be a lot easier for me to you know, calculate the math that way. Like this way makes sense for me if I'm thinking of it that way, because I've just been, you know, used to seeing graphs start at the bottom left corner. I'm also thinking if I want to center the origin, if I want to get this viewport coordinate to be centered so that from the center to the extreme end it would be like 1 and then -1, and just I need to think about what to do with this value here before I would start, you know, if I would start okay, I don't know, maybe I should just because not only the swipe direction, I would also want to get the angle between the swipes. I don't think that matters in terms of where the origin starts, to be honest, either, because you just have to work with the values that way, right? For example, if the origin started down here, then if the start position was lower than the end position, then I know they went up. But then if the origin starts here and the start position is lower than the end position, then that means it went down. So like wherever I put the origin kind of affects how I'm going to do the math here. So so that is a thing that I will do here, and it should return. Sometimes you just can't depend on this thing, man. You can't depend on this AI stuff. I need to go up and copy it myself. I'm gonna do it myself. I'm just gonna put that there, and then we're gonna put a placeholder. Production dot. I don't know, right? Oh. Okay. Let's put that color there. No, what the heck? Oh, any's not. Oh, oh, okay, 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 okay. All right, let's see. Should be a none as well, actually. If you just tap the screen, then you didn't really swipe because the values would very likely be the same. So none should exist for sure. So then that's what's going to happen here. I'm going to do a comparison, and then I'm going to also apply like tolerances. So up shouldn't be like literally right on top of it. It should have like a little, you know, if you swipe like that, that would count as up. And then if you swipe that way, it's really diagonal and stuff. Because if you do this, now my cursor ended up a little bit higher than when it started, but generally I wanted to go left, so tolerance is there. And then also I would implement some form of minimum distance as well. So minimum swipe distance. I don't know if I want to do physical distance or normalized distance, because I don't know. I have to think about that too. Is it? I think I'm just going to do normalized, because if you're on a tiny screen, if you're on a big screen and you like you swipe like this, do you consider that having swiped? Because the physical distance of here on a phone is going to be like equivalent to like there, like there. So I just need to think about the implications beforehand if I start writing anything. Yeah, so there, tolerance, minimum distance, and rebasing the coordinate here to something that I can use for the rebasing. I might do like a lot of thoughts as to how it would implement with other stuff, like for example verse UI, because I would like for this whole thing to be easily usable with, like, let's say a person is making like verse UI and they have like the canvas and all of that too. It's not even the verse UI, isn't the flipping UI colon equals. Probably wouldn't be that then. Let's then do UI and then this. Okay. So then let's see, menu navigation help no. Now we got UI here, player UI, widget. It's been so long. Actually, man, I don't even know. I don't use Verse UI anymore. Shit is ugly. UMG all the way. But just in case, you never. Nah. I don't ever want to write I don't ever want to write UI in code, ever again. Ever, actually. But yeah, canvas, anchors, stuff like this, basically. Let me see what they're doing. Oh, this is from the anchors. The offset is from the anchors. The alignment starts upper left and ends lower right at 0. So I think I'm going to stick with the way they have it, going down from there. Yeah. Okay. So make viewpoint coordinate, and then there will be another one here as well, which would be make viewport coordinate normalized. So this could be named make viewport coordinate normalized, right? And when you're writing it, well, F the flipping LSP doesn't want to show up, but or I could do make normalized viewport coordinate. Yeah, I'll do it this way. This is how I like to do it. So if it has a different thing, but it's the same thing, it's going to do something like this. So this one's going to be a little bit more. Yeah, that's essentially what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to think of all the possible situations before I start committing to writing stuff. So I don't end up writing and be like, oh, I should do this, and then start redoing the work. Unfortunately, this is how I like to code. I like to think about all the things as much as possible before I start writing, because I don't like redoing stuff unless necessary. So for this one, it's going to give you a value from 0 to 1, and I'm throwing the thoughts out so that the thoughts are like, you know, thoughts, I guess. But yeah, I would do some math here to normalize the values. I already know what top down is the 29, 28 point, whatever. Divide the value by that. So wait a minute. Top down is up. Yeah, top down is up. So this one's going to be divided by the thing, the magic number. I'm just gonna open. I'm gonna find that stuff. This printer made with the values. From Sprinter. Discovered, I think. Yeah. As image. There we go. 28.57. 28.57. Now, this one I can only get yeah, this one is going to be a little bit different to get. Because I need to know the max value. And this the max value of this changes depending on the player's aspect ratio. So for this, I would need the player's I would need the player's thingy. So let's do. And to get the player's aspect ratio, I would need to like get their camera, like to get obviously to get the viewport is rendering, and then do a projection into the world and see what the bottom left is. But I don't know, that's like, damn, that's like work for tomorrow. I'm just gonna bundle up tomorrow. I'm already getting pretty tired to continue with coding stuff. But yeah, by tomorrow I will work more on the on just this. This should be like not virtual pointer interface, but more so like continuous swiping, swipe something, swipe. That'd be like swipe something related. I'm gonna call it is swiping or swipe info. Definitely not virtual pointer though. Swipe. All right. Am I even using this? Yeah, I'm not even. Okay. But yep, swipe data or something. I don't know. I'll think about it more. So the goal for this is that cannot spell the word data to have should be general swipe direction. Swipe angle, start and end positions. This will be like a more detailed thing, and then swipe distance as well. And then finally, good lord, there's a third one. So we have the general one. We have this one, which is like I like to have like detailed so for example here I have a regular, like a lightweight, I like to think of it that way, a lightweight cursor one, which just says, okay, this person clicked on me, like which I was clicked and who clicked. This is person who clicked. And then a detailed one, which is more like, okay, I was clicked. This is the person who did the clicking. This is the component which the click was sourced from. And this is detail of, the click. So where did they, what part, like literally like what part of my, where exactly on the entity was clicked. Like I just passed the entire sweep head. It has everything, right? Contact fixed. Like if you want to, it has the details there. So I have like a lightweight version, and then I have a detailed version, and then I have like, you know, an async one and then non-async one. So I like to have like that kind of stuff. So in here, this is going to be the lightweight version, just the general swipe, like you swiped up, swipe left. You could use this for like menus. If you want to go to the left, you don't really need where they started and where they ended, just that they swiped left or swiped right. Now I'm thinking about it, probably would be good to be able to define like zones. So for example, if you want a menu, you want to be able to like say, okay, they swiped left in this area. That I don't know, maybe I'm reaching, but for now, general swipe direction, swipe angle, and start positions, and then the other one, which is the ability to just get the current play, like current position. Can swipe like continuous swipe update. Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. So those are the three things I want this to do. Right. So I don't think I spelled that right. There we go. That would happen in here. The continuous one would kind of happen here, and then I would like have a thing that updates, and then this would be the swipe direction, and the swipe direction would have the two, so it would have. Okay, maybe I'm gonna do swipe direction and then get swipe direction detailed, and it'll be like that. Okay, okay. That's the plan. Like this is the general plan for this interface here. It's just all about swiping, not really, you know, virtual point. I mean, obviously you're using the virtual pointer for it, but this is what this stuff is all about. So if I wanted to do, oh, that's perfect. Now, if I just realized, if I wanted to do a map where you're drawing on something, I would inherit from that interface, and then I would use the swipe data to, oh, yeah. I could use the swipe data plus the custom cursor to the cursor component. I could combine them and do stuff with it in world. Yeah. Okay. So that means I'm actually going to keep this. So this would be a function that combines both of them. Let's make this a lot tidier then. What's this for? I'm not even using this. Okay, so chuck that off, and then chuck that there. So this arrived. Click events, we get click events. Then we await the report. Sleep and triggered events here. All right, yeah, I'm happy about the way I wrote this. It's so unreadable. Ah, yeah, okay. Okay, so the projection is. Let's write it like this. It looks a lot more complex than it needs to be. Oh man, let's keep with that and do this too. Why not? Okay. Good. But it's fine actually because, you know, that's because of how I write. By the time I just do like, by the time I do this, then all of that can coalesce into this. And, you know, it's a lot easier this way. So I have gotten rid of the definition here. Unfortunately, I cannot do the same thing in here because this is a, you know, because of the whole no rollback thing. But now I've gone and I have saved myself the hassle of, you know, defining ray equals player dot deproject to world. This used to be the ray, and then I would do option ray, but now I can just like chuck that in directly. And whenever this stuff gets called and we get the function, it's going to run the raycast. So whenever the function calls, whenever the trigger event fires, and we get the stuff, it's going to pass that in here, and then that's going to pass that into this, and then call the raycast. So now it's a lot, you know, instead of having like one big ass line, I can say, okay, we're doing a raycast of player. Raycast expects all of this. Okay. Player, the projection is blah blah blah. You know, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier on the eyes now, kind of. Yep. But this should not be sourced though. That should be cursor underscore comp. I don't think about this raycast. Should that be a capital C? Raycast. Yes, it's a capital C. All right, little tidbits. So this report player click, it's going to do this. So it's going to be like, so yeah, again, this is just an interface essentially. But when I do report player click, when I inherit from here and then I report player click, it's going to do the raycast using the cursor mode components. So then, because ultimately everything is a click, like even when you're doing a swipe, the swipe are essentially like tiny little clicks, right? So it's just going to use the cursor mode component to click continuously when I use this. And then if I wanted like the specific positions and different stuff, I would also get that from here. So I would have like another function that just returns like, you know, the swipe, pure swipe data. And that would actually be that'll be done when I finish making these two functions. Okay, pretty exciting stuff. Although I might not like work on this for a while because I don't know, like I don't have anything I'm doing with this right now, right? Like my cursor mode stuff, I'm literally doing stuff with it every time, and even the features I just added this past few hours, forcing usage, I'm going to make that into an item today, hopefully. The cursor item. That's gonna be fun to make. It's gonna be like that's gonna be my first item that I've made. So either make that one first or I make the music player first. The thing is, it's a lot. The music player honestly, I can't make that right now because I need the camera component for it. I want to make the music players to be completely free of devices. And currently, one of the things that are holding me back is the camera, because when the music player opens, the camera kind of like zooms in, and that's how I want it to be. So I'm actually waiting for the camera to release. I was hoping I would stall until, next update is in a few days. But yeah, so today I'm going to make the cursor item, and the features that it's supposed to have is the pickup is supposed to look different depending on what your input is. And I will be able to demonstrate this with my controller, because I have a controller. And I probably can also demonstrate it later with mobile preview as well. But the pickup should look different depending on what you have. And yeah, it'll enable the cursor as you equip it and disable it as you unequip it. That's the whole. It's not that complex, because I've already finished the complex work here. But that would be the stuff. So make the cursor item. Would be first thing. That's like my own item with like just pure item, and then there would be making something with a template that we got, the template stuff that we got, which honestly is more so just customizing, values and, choosing a nice mesh and Niagara, whatever, but I still want to do that. And that's going to be the stuff for tomorrow. Well, for today, the main stuff for today. I actually finished the main stuff I wanted to do yesterday, so it doesn't look like it, because like what did you do? But I did do that, which was finalizing the integration of the virtual pointer into my cursor thing. So now I can just turn this back to. Actually, I need to test this one more time, because I kind of noticed it wasn't toggling. But then the oh yeah, like what's up with that? Oh, I knew it. I just knew something was somewhere. Was something doing something. Virtual pointer. Oh, yeah. I looked at this and I was like, are you sure I can do that? You absolutely cannot do that. Like, you can't. Like, I was like, what is that? I didn't say, but I was kind of, skeptical about. I was like, now the thing is, ideally in the future universe, like you would be able to do this, right? So that's why I didn't really question it that much, because you'd be able to like have the function wait upon this thing, right? I believe it's somewhere in the flipping book, somewhere there. What's it called? Did they remove it? Live variables? So with live variables, like you can have stuff react to stuff. Now it's not live variable, but like I would assume that it would, have the same stuff. Anyway, so that's why I wasn't really too. But yeah, you can't do this. You just cannot do that. You gotta plug it in here first. So. Yeah, and if I'm gonna plug it in here, then I might as well just. Yeah, like this was 2 layers deep. Like you're doing the project to world, which is a function, and you're doing that. I think you can do it like if I do the project to world takes viewport position, right? Viewport position. My fingers are kind of like really cold as well. Only goes that. Let's see, and then they project in here. Right, so this is the fact that we're waiting here is kind of like the main issue. Like it should be fine to run the deproject viewport inside of the. What the heck? What the heck? What the heck? Trigger refreshing. We get the first one, and then we pass that in as the deproject to viewport. Yikes! Yikey! Yike! 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 Let's see. No rollback effect. Okay, so all right, so now this one is a problem of, wait, what's that? There's no way it's okay. So that's okay. So this is fine. Yeah, like this is fine, but this is the problem again, which is in the future we will be able to do this when the no rollback specifier is removed and everything is transact. But right now you can't do this. Invocation has a thingy, and the invocation is what? Like, what was the invocation meant? Tell me. It's this one. So that's why I used to I get the player input on its own, right? And then I get the input events from the player input. Like when you need to make sure you have the player input first, before you then try to get the input events. That is the problem, because getting input events has no rollback. Like the fact that you can't see transact here means that it is no rollback, and what that means is it shouldn't happen in a decides context. Blah blah blah. Okay, now we can compile, but I'm not happy with this. So I'm just going to just condense this right to there. And honestly, it's kind of short enough to go here. Right. 1 second. Just look at my screen. Yep, that's good enough. Right about like there. I like my functions at like lines ending there. So, and honestly, I could just put everything in the thing. I know, actually, it's this one. Right, I think I should have been doing this before. So, Ray. Okay, so you can indeed, you know, deproject the awaited value. What the heck? Hold up. Right? You can. This takes in a vector 3, and this is a vector 3. If I do this, will it know not to do that? It should like, yeah, so it's going to, you know, actually check as it should have been checking, and then it's going to be like, no, this, there's a problem. Second line, it's going to be like, this expects a value of tuple, this, not, and isn't compatible with tuple player. So when you compile, it does the actual check, which it should have been doing to know that this is, you know, like why I'm saying this specifically is because if you try to do something here, like this, for example, it's supposed to tell you that it's a vector 3. It's not unknown. Like it's supposed to, but like I don't know, like the LSP is just stupid. Yeah, it's supposed to do that, but if you do it in here, then it's fine. Okay, so you can do the check in here in the array, but if I were to copy this and put this here, then it's going to tell me what? The function there. Let's see exactly what's going on. Oh, okay. So it's not that you can't do it, but it's all about, again, it's the no rollback problem. The raycast function. I don't want to do this, to be honest, because technically, and that gives issues here because the debug function expects the debug function is not like there's no rollback, but it's definitely not compute, right? Yeah, because this is transact. So then since it's transact, I could just do that then. So why is it complaining? Wait, what am I in? Let me just do. So now the debug sweep hits is no longer complaining. Like they just should remove the no rollback thing once and for all. And this is also transact. And then if I do this, I'm guessing the only issue with what I was doing before yeah. Okay. So the signal here is no rollback 2 because, like, I mean, it does make sense that you cannot roll back a signal. I mean, what am I saying makes sense? In the future, everything's going to be like transact. So, but for now, let's just get rid of that and then also get rid of, I don't want this here intentionally. And then that's just going to give us back here where you can't call this function in here, you just can't. So but ideally you should be able to like do everything in there. Wait, was I doing it wrong? Oh, let me see. Yeah, I was doing right. Anyway, this is not Ray. This is deproject viewport to world. Which gave the projection. Should be that. That's not the ray. That is just the deprojection. And the ray is okay, so the ray is indeed the projection. Sorry, you just witnessed me battle with naming stuff. But I don't know. It's not useless totally because good names help with readability later on. Because I'm not leaving lots of comments here yet. So naming is essentially what's carrying the whole band. All right, so this is fine for now. Like, you're able to do this and like um, continuously click. Like, if you want to, like, let's say I want a drawing thing, right? Um, my cursor component just on its own only it only supports clicks, like single clicks. So if you hold and click, you're not going to get any info. You're not going to do anything with that. But if I wanted to make this so you can draw on it, I would make it I would I would also inherit this. You know what? Sheesh. Yeah, man, I guess I ought to. Do I go to sleep or do I do a little side quest here, just to show how easy like the whole idea of making this interface is now. Okay, so this is not complete for sure. Okay, no, it is complete. I actually need to still think, because this is not enough. Like, this is gonna fire the click events. Well, I actually need to think of a way I'm gonna use this. Let's see. Let's see here. And can definitely not gonna name it that. Shit, man, what do you call like? Let's see. What do you call the thing that people draw on? People paint on. So it's indeed usually called a canvas. Oh, okay, it's called a canvas, right? But if I created a folder named canvas, I can only imagine how much problems that could potentially bring in the verse thingy, because folders are, F it, let's do it. Canvas. I can imagine also the Newton cradle just looking at me like, you were supposed to work on me, bro. Oh no. I'll do that some. It's there. But canvas. Okay. No problems, seemingly. 10 warnings. Touch mapping, touch mapping. Okay, I'm using that once, using that twice. Okay. I could get rid of the 2 warnings by like putting this in the thing. I created the thing is this, then I could do this twice, right? And then I get rid of the one, but like this point is it doesn't matter. Okay. And of course I can get rid of a lot of these things by just doing 1, 2, 3. I don't know, I'm not bothered by this. Let's go. Let's ignore that. And then we have canvas. Canvas is fine. Right? where is it? Here. I'm gonna add new file. Canvas underscore. Oh my god, I can only imagine this is gonna. Oh my days, bro. I don't. Sheesh, this is scary doing this because I know for a fact that there's like canvas stuff like in UI, and if Epic just released a canvas component, then this is all the name of this is gonna be. Well, it's gonna cause an issue. But canvas component colon equals class of component, and then it's gonna tell me. Hey, you can say final super. It's not bringing any errors, man. What am I supposed to do if it's not bringing any errors? Like, oh. I called it. I called it. No, didn't I call it? I can imagine it's going to be like here. Right? You see? It's ambiguous with the stuff. I just knew it. Let's call it something else. I could just call it drawing board component or sketchbook. I don't know. Just call it drawing board. So like drawing underscore board component. Yes, final super. No, that's not. That's definitely not. Turn that on. Okay. What is the problem? Renamed the folder, but it was still there. How is it compiling without even the warnings? Let's see. So like, I guess my thing just did. Nice. Okay. Drawing board? Yeah. Nice. Okay, we'll just create a new file again. Call this drawing board component. Of course, I will love it. Utilities module. Yes. I forgot to use. Let's get this error so that we can crop this up and put it back and put that there. Oh, please be yellow. Just be yellow, please. Thank you. Okay. Let's chuck all of that out, and this will inherit from cursor mode. This one. Underscore, man, underscore. Let's re-enable first auto imports. And then it would also inherit from swipe vector. Okay. On swipe. Huh. Anyway, unfortunately, I don't think it's how that's going to be implemented. Let's see. So on the cursor mode listener, we are going to on cursor interaction. This one's actually going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to do on cursor interaction detailed. Override. We are then going to entity sphere. Sphere. I'm not like going into specifics of like good drawing stuff. I'm just gonna like do a thing. So sphere equals that. Then sphere dot add components of array. Sphere. Components, man. So is that not a thing? What the heck? It's literally a mesh component. Like what do you mean? Am I tripping here? Oh, my bad, OG. I'm sleepy. Entity is sphere. Did I type 5? No, entity is sphere. Okay, so add that there. And then we have the sweep it. Right, we're gonna do. We are going to do contact position. Yeah, we're just gonna put that in there. Sphere. The how do you simulation entity. Okay. So if some I need to like add to simulation entity or something. Right. Let's make that, because honestly this whole writing this every single time. Then sim.add entities. Add entities. Sphere. And then sphere dot set. Brother, where's my dot set global transform dot sweep result dot that. I think I'm gonna make like a function too, because set position, right? Let's see. Like the set global transform, it's to help do the thing, right? But the transform component has this as a variable, right? So I should be able to do if xform comp is sphere dot get components of transform component, then then set xform comp dot global transform equals transform. So I get the global transform, and then I can just like set the translation. Translation equals sweep it dot that. Oh my god, I copied. No, where is you? Come here. Contact position. Wait, which spatial? I mean, obviously it's gonna be for spatial math. Why did I even ask there? Looking stupid again. All right, so there we go. This way I don't have to like make a whole transform is this and then to do this some blah blah blah. Okay, so do that and then do that. Right, so what makes this a drawing board in the case is that here we're gonna do on simulate. Oh my god, my fingers actually cold. On simulate. Good lordy. On simulate. Right. Suspense. On simulate, we are going to report player click. Right, so if dot report player click. I deleted that. Invalid access of this. Is that invalid? No way. Okay, so suspends, no rollback. Alright, so if Juno is me, then report player click Juno, and then I need a cursor mode. Let's just get one random one. If Juno is me, and then sheesh. Let's do like this. So, and then we'll do like this. This is just for this is not me setting it up correctly, obviously. I just want to, you know, get first cursor in simulation entity dot find descendants components wait, component. Sheesh. Where's that component? Then just gonna put that in there, and cursor comp, cursor comp is that. Okay, so what's gonna happen here is, because I just know for start, like there's only just this one, right? So it's gonna get this one and it's going to use that as my component to do stuff, right? And then and then report player click is going to continuously fire the raycast, and then the raycast would then find this thing and is supposed to call this thing, and this thing would spawn the sphere. It'll spawn a sphere. The spheres will be a little bit too big now I think about it. So because the spheres by default have a radius of 50, a diameter of 100 meters. So to get like small spheres, we will set the scale equals LUF underscore unit vector 3 times that. So little balls. And this is getting a little bit too long, so let's just chunk that down there. Chunk that down there as well. Okay. Nice. And ideally, you make a drawing board by simply, I'm not even gonna make a prefab. I don't know why I made it a folder, but like I'm just quite literally just going to like go in here, and this is a prefab full image. If I just chunk, oh right, okay, limitations on scene graph workflow, nice. Let's say I'm going to make this the drawing board. All right, I'm just gonna add a drawing board component onto the thing there. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm gonna, on the board here, I'm going to add a drawing board component. Right, and then I'm gonna turn around, and without you know, it's almost 5 a.m. I am I don't know. It's 3:40 for me, so. But yeah, okay, well, good night. Have a good sleep. I'm just gonna test this, and I'm gonna go off as well. Yep. Hello, second person who just joined. See you tomorrow. Second person who just joined. second. I'm just going to, ideally, all right, is this? Yeah. So that's essentially what I was, just like that, just, just working, first time, first try, all of that. But yeah, and obviously like you could do like actual drawing pieces with stuff, like you could make it check the concept normal and have it face the right way and stuff. No, 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 no. But that is it. That is that is the stuff. That is the stuff. There's no way to delete this, so I'll just you guys have a good night. Okay. Well, bye. Stream over. Um. Thank you all for stopping by. I forgot to say. Thank you all for stopping by. I'm gonna go now. Yeah, it's time to go. See y'all. Cheerio.